to another video. So today I thought it'd be kind of fun to show you guys how to make these shaped starts for your alpha keychains. So this video was inspired by Claire here on braceletbook.com and Claire's Wear Spam on Instagram. And I saw her posting pictures of patterns on Bracelet Book, and she had these really cool keychains that were shaped and sort of slanted inwards at the edges. And I thought that looked pretty cool, and I could see that they definitely fit a bigger alpha pattern onto her keyring, and I decided to try that myself. So I saw her Instagram story of techniques that she posted, and I followed her photo tutorial on it. You can go check that out. And I decided to do a tutorial on it because it was super easy, and I just decided it'd be super fun to do. So yeah, if you guys would like to learn how to do this technique, then do keep on watching. Okay, so just a quick warning. I think if you were doing this technique on an alpha pattern with an even amount of bass strings, then this pattern would be so much easier, whereas doing it from an odd amount of bass strings would be a lot more difficult. But I will try my best to explain how to do both in this video. So the first step is to look at your alpha pattern. So for example, I am using this alpha pattern, and it has 26 bass strands. So cut half of the amount of bass strands you're going to be needing for your pattern, but make sure to cut them extra long so you can double them over to make the exact amount of bass strands that you're going to be needing for this keychain. But yeah, so I'm just going to be referencing off this technique on the pattern I have here, and also how many bass strands I'll be needing in all of the scenarios I'll be going through personally. But yeah, so the first step after that is to just, after the cut of course, to separate as many bass strands as you'll be needing in order to fit the pattern on your keyring. So as I have this here. And basically what I mean by that is, since I have 26 bass strands, which I'll be of course doubling over to get, will obviously not fit on this keyring. So what I did here, I separated 4 bass strands from this keychain, and I just put them off to the side, because as you can see here, I only have under 13 lark's head knots here, and the rest are not really lark's head knots. So just separate the amount that you'll be needing in order to fit the entire rest that you did not separate onto your keyring, if that makes sense. So the first step is to look at your alpha pattern. So for example, I am using this alpha pattern, and it has 26 bass strands. So cut half of the amount of bass strands you're going to be needing for your pattern, but make sure to cut them extra long so you can double them over to make the exact amount of bass strands that you're going to be needing for this keychain. But yeah, so I'm just going to be referencing off this technique on the pattern I have here, and also how many bass strands I'll be needing. But yeah, so the first step after that is to just, after the cut of course, to separate as many bass strands as you'll be needing in order to fit the pattern on your keyring. So as I have this here. And basically what I mean by that is, since I have 26 bass strands, which I'll be of course doubling over to get, will obviously not fit on this keyring. So what I did here, I separated 4 bass strands from this keychain, and I just put them off to the side, because as you can see here, I only have under 13 lark's head knots here, and the rest are not really lark's head knots. So just separate the amount that you'll be needing in order to fit the entire rest that you did not separate onto your keyring, if that makes sense. So in this case, I'll be separating 4 of my bass strands from the 13 I have here, and just put them aside because we're not going to be using them right now. And after you have that, just take the remaining bass strands that you have not separated from the bundle and get your keyring and do lark's head knots on all of the bass strands onto the keychain. And like I said before, I do expect that you do know the basic knots in order to attach your base strands onto your keychain. So I'll be back after I finish that. Okay, so now that I have my 9 base strands all knotted onto my key ring, of course minus the 4 I separated, it is time to take half of the amount of strings you separated from the bundle, which for me is going to be 2, and you're going to be basically making sure they all, of course, meet at the same end, and then you're going to be slipping the first end through your keyring and under, and you're going to be just pulling it all the way through so both of your ends match. So you're going to be taking both of the ends and just sort of hanging onto them and then continuing to pull this so exactly half of it is touching your keyring. After this is done, you're going to be taking the other half of the strings you have separated, and you're just going to be keeping them aside because you're going to be dealing with them later. And then you're going to be taking your background color, which for me is going to be white, and you're going to be doing a backward forward knot onto the half of your base strings that you've separated that are now looped onto your keyring, and you're going to be knotting over all of them, including the other side of the loop. After that, do forward knots on all of your base strings, including the last one. Okay, and then after that is done, that is where you're going to be using the other half of the base strings you have separated. So you're basically doing the exact same thing as you did on the left side here. And for this, again, just slip them underneath your keyring. And again, pull them all the way through. And then make sure the ends match, so exactly halfway is at the very top of the loop. And then after that, take your leading strand and do a forward backward knot onto the base strands that you have just slipped through the keyring. All of them. And then after that is done, you're going to be taking your leading strand, sort of throwing it off to the side, and separating one of the base strands in the bundle on the right side. So like this. And then you're going to be doing another forward backward knot with your leading strand onto the rest of the bundle, excluding this string right here. After that, take that string you have separated from the bundle before we did the forward backward knot, and you're going to be taking your leading strand and doing a backward knot onto that string. And then finish the rest of the row with backward knots, but make sure to stop right before we get to our first bundle of strings that we did a backward forward knot at the beginning of the previous row. And then after you have that, you're going to be having your leading strand in hand, and then take the bundle that you have done a backward forward knot on And just separate one of the strands from the bundle, just like as we did on the right side. And you're going to be doing a backward knot with your leading strand onto that string that you have just separated. And then just finish this row off with a backward forward knot onto the remaining strands in the bundle. And after that, just take your leading strand again, but before you do another backward forward knot, separate another string in the bundle, excluding it completely from the rest of the bundle, and then do a backward forward knot onto the rest of the strings. Again, just knot onto the string that you've just excluded from the rest of the bundle. And then finish the entire rest of the row, but make sure to stop before the bundle on the right side. Then take one of the strings out of the bundle and do a forward knot on it. And then do a backward forward knot on the remaining strings of the bundle. Okay, so now that I have finished my pattern, I'll show you guys how to close up this sort of shaped end. So it's pretty much like how we started, except it's just in reverse. So what you're going to be doing here is just taking your leading strand after you finish your pattern, of course. And with that, you're going to be just taking the string that you have just knotted onto with your base strand, and you're going to take the next strand too. So you have our leading strand and our two base strands right here, and you're going to be doing a backward forward knot onto both of them at the same time. Okay, and then just finish your alpha row, but stop before the last two base strands at the very end. Okay, and then after you have that, take the two base strands that you have not knotted onto yet and do a backward forward knot onto them. And then take the next base string in the row after the two that you've just knotted with, which would be my third from outermost right string, so it's this one, and take your base string and do a backward forward knot onto all three strands. And then just do another row all the way. But of course, leave out the next three strands, the outermost three strands of your row. Okay, so now that you have knotted up until those last three strands, then just do a backward forward knot on all three of the strands, just as we did with this previous side. And there you go. Just continue to do this exact same thing by just pulling in another strand and doing a backward forward knot on here and doing another row, leaving the next four strands and doing another backward forward knot, and keep doing that all the way until you are left with the original amount of strings that you started with each bundle on each side. So for example, I'm going to be doing this about once more until I have all 4 strands in one knot on one bundle, just as I have started with on this top side right here. And yeah, so that's pretty much all you do to start and finish these really cool alpha patterns. And yeah, so now I'll show you guys how to make one with a odd amount of strings for your bass strings, because I know it gets confusing and I just want to help you guys out. So yeah, I'll be back when I've cut my strings for that, and I'll show you guys pretty much how to just do it slightly differently with an odd number of strings. Okay, so for those who have an odd amount of strings, you're going to be doing pretty much the exact same thing. You're going to be wanting to look back, and if you didn't already see how to set up your strings. So you're going to be separating your 4 strings and then doubling 2 of them over, or as many as you have that you have half of that you separated. And you're going to be doing lark's head knots on the rest that you did not separate. But you're going to be cutting one of your bass strands like probably twice as long as it should be, and then doubling them over, I guess, long enough to fit the length of the other bass strands. And you're going to want to have a lot of excess string for your background color. And if you want, you can do a lark's head knot with a different color from the rest of your bass strands, if you prefer that. But anyways, you're going to be just having one of your bass strands longer, as I have just said before, and you're going to be taking the huge bundle of strings that you have looped around the keyring. Like I said before, you can go back to my even string part of the tutorial and look how they are set up. But anyways, you're going to be taking the longer bass string and you're going to be doing a backward forward knot onto the bundle of strings to the left of it, and not onto all of them. And as you guys can see here, this is pretty much the exact same thing as what we're going to be doing with the even amount of strings. And then you're going to be just finishing off the row and then adding on the other 2 strings at the very end, and then doing a forward backward knot. And if you guys need help after that, then look back to my first part of the tutorial when I show you guys how to do it with the even amount of strings and how to sort of branch the strings outwards. Okay, so that is all I have for you guys today on how to do the sort of shaped alpha keychains, and I hope you guys learned a lot from this and it made it easier for you guys to do the sort of shaped edges on your alpha keychain. And yeah, so please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more bracelet content from me. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye!